All right, today we're jumping into a short story from the Gospel of Mark that is just absolutely packed with meaning. It's about a road trip to Jerusalem that seems simple enough on the surface, but oh man, it is layered with irony, a totally radical teaching on leadership, and a huge reveal about what it really means to see.
So this is the central puzzle of the whole story. You've got these two insiders right at the center of power asking for one thing. And then you have a total outsider with absolutely nothing asking for something completely different. Who actually ends up with what they need? That's what we're going to figure out.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off on the road, and the destination is Jerusalem. And for this group, you can just feel it, that name, Jerusalem. It hangs heavy in the air. There's a real sense of dread.
So, picture it. Jesus is way out in front, leading the pack. He's walking with this intense purpose toward the city. He knows what's coming, but the people following him, they can only guess, and it's making them uneasy.
And this is where you can really feel the mood. His inner circle, the disciples, they're described as astonished, kind of bewildered by his grim focus. And then the larger crowd following behind them, they're just plain afraid. Everybody knows in their bones that something big and probably dangerous is about to go down. So to cut through all that tension, Jesus pulls his 12 closest followers aside and just lays it all out. No metaphors, no riddles, just a brutal four-step prediction. He tells them he's going to be handed over, condemned, mocked, and beaten, and then killed. And just when that prediction hits rock bottom, he throws in the ultimate plot twist. After 3 days, he'll rise again. Now, after a prediction like that, you'd think they would be floored, right? Stunned into silence. But what happens next is it's almost comical and how badly timed it is, and it shows just how much they are not on the same page as him.
Two of his best friends, James and John, come up to him with a private request. And Jesus asks them this really open-ended question, and you're going to want to remember this question, because it comes back later in a big way. He says, "What do you want me to do for you?"
And there it is, their answer. While Jesus is literally spelling out his own suffering and death, they're busy thinking about their own careers. They want the best seats in the house, the positions of power right next to him when he finally enters his glory. They heard the words, but they totally missed the meaning.
This shows the disconnect perfectly. You can see here the disciples are laser-focused on glory, power, and position. Meanwhile, Jesus is talking about his path, using these metaphors like the cup and the baptism, which are both symbols for overwhelming suffering and death. It's like they're in two completely different conversations. Well, when the other 10 disciples hear about this, they are furious. And get this, it's not because the request was so out of line, it's because James and John beat them to the punch. So Jesus uses this little moment of infighting to teach one of his most famous, most countercultural lessons ever. And here's the lesson. He basically says, look around. You see how worldly rulers work? They love to show off their power, to lord it over people. But then he says, in my kingdom, we flip that script completely. You want to be great? Then you have to be a servant. You want to be first? You have to be willing to be last. It's a total reversal of everything we think about power. And he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. He points to himself as the #1 example. His entire mission, he explains, isn't to get people to serve him. It's for him to serve them and to ultimately give up his own life. That, right there, is the heart of servant leadership. So the story takes a turn. As the group is leaving the city of Jericho, the camera, so to speak, zooms in on a new character. A guy who is on the absolute bottom rung of society. And in a story that's all about spiritual blindness, it is no accident that this man is physically blind. So meet Bartimaeus. He's a blind beggar. He can't see Jesus, but he hears the commotion and realizes who is passing by. And he starts shouting, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Now that title, Son of David, is a huge deal. It's a title for the Messiah. This blind man sees who Jesus is more clearly than the disciples. The crowd tries to shut him up, but does that stop him? No way. It just makes him shout even louder.
So Jesus hears him and calls for him. And Bartimaeus' reaction is just electric. He throws off his cloak, which for a beggar was likely his only possession, his whole world. He just tosses it aside, leaps to his feet, and runs to Jesus. It's this incredible act of faith, leaving his old life behind in an instant.
And then we get the pivot, the callback. Jesus asks Bartimaeus the exact same question he asked James and John just a little while ago. What do you want me to do for you? The whole story hinges on this moment. And his answer is so simple and yet so profound. Where the powerful insiders asked for glory, this powerless outsider asks for one thing. Rabbi, I want to see. It's a plea for physical sight for sure, but it's also the perfect symbol for the spiritual insight that the disciples were so clearly missing.
And here we are at the climax of the story. The contrast couldn't be clearer. The men who could see ask for power, while the man who was blind asked for sight. And now we get to see the result.
Jesus' answer is immediate. He says, "Go, your faith has healed you." He connects the healing directly to the man's own belief. Bartimaeus got what he needed not because he was important or well-connected, but because of his relentless, stubborn faith.
And this last line is the real mic drop. What's the very first thing Bartimaeus does with his brand new eyesight? He doesn't run off to celebrate his new life. No, he starts following Jesus down that exact same road to Jerusalem, the path of service and suffering. By getting his sight, he instantly becomes a true follower, one who actually gets.
So we end right back where we started, with a question that this story just forces you to ask. It makes you totally rethink what it means to be blind and what it means to see. In the end, the insiders, the ones with perfect vision who were chasing glory, were completely blind to what was really going on. And the blind beggar, who was only looking for mercy, was the one person in the crowd who could truly see.